We lived in Philadelphia. It was a segregated community. There was no rule that they shouldn't come, no formal, station policy or anything. But if you were black in those days, you just didn't do that. And occasionally you would get one or two strays, and somewhere, as close as I can figure, 57, 58, there was a guy who produced the show with me, Tony Mammarella. And with no instructions whatsoever, we said, we didn't use it. I don't think in those days we used the word integrate. So we've got to bring some black kids in here because things are changing. And if we don't, there's going to be problems. There'll be probably protests and so forth. So we began to filter in a few. And I can remember, it's a vivid recollection I had, the very first time ever in my life I talked to a black teenager on national television. It was in what we call the Radar record portion of Bandstand, which is a dance show, kids dancing. They listened to the records and gave a rating. It was the coiner of the phrase, I like the beat, it's easy to dance to, which became part of Americana. But talked to the black kid, show was over. I mean, it's the first time in 100 years I got sweaty palms. Television doesn't make me very nervous. I've done a lot of it. At that point I was doing 17 and a half hours a week of live television, so you sort of can get through anything. But that day I sweat because I didn't know what the reaction would be with Southern television affiliates. Nobody had ever done this before. And sure enough, there wasn't anything. There wasn't a phone call. There wasn't a protest. And from that day on, we began to get more black kids in the studio. When the show moved from Philadelphia to LA, we had blacks and Chinese and Mexican, every color of the rainbow, and by then it didn't matter. But the lovely part about it was, the thing I'm real happy about, we didn't do it because we were do-gooders or liberals or going to make it happen or blah, blah, blah. No, it was none of it. Just, it's probably the thing we ought to do. It was naive, but it worked. And if the whole world could have done that way, wouldn't it have been great? That was probably the show's greatest contributions, bring blacks and whites together in a social atmosphere. We always had entertainers from the first day, like Dizzy Gillespie would appear in the early 50s, but there were always black entertainers, but never mixed audiences. If anything, here we are approaching the year 2000, there's still racial tensions. But in the mid-50s, early 60s, it got really hot. It was quite extraordinary. I used to travel with we had a bus tour, similar to the Caravan of Music you mentioned. The Caravan of Stars was a bus full of rock and rollers. We went out and did concerts around the country in gymnasiums, old burlesque houses, wherever they'd take us. And the whites sat on one side, the blacks on the other, upstairs, downstairs. Some days we'd give a show for all blacks, another day for all whites. The bus was integrated. I mean, my best friends in life were traveling with me in that bus. People I know to this day, became lifelong friends because that'd make a great movie someday. I tried to pitch it once. They said, it's history, nobody cares. But what a wonderful thing. We had 30, 40 very young people, blacks and whites, mostly from modest circumstances, jammed together in a bus, traveling the South. We could only eat in the Greyhound bus terminal together. We slept in different hotels. We performed separately sometimes. It was bizarre. And it's really hard to believe that went on. That would have been in the mid-50s, up until the 60s. We got into a very tight situation once in the Southeast when a group of white people in a diner of some sort, our bus broke down. We went in and scared the hell out of them because half of us were white and half black. We walked in to get food, and they said, no, we're not going to serve any of you. Finally, two of the white singers went in and said, can we make food and take it to the bus? They thought we were what they called freedom riders. They rode around whites and blacks in buses in integrated places. We weren't trying to integrate anything. We were trying to get a hamburger. But that's another book.